So I stumbled across this book called Reality Transurfing by a Russian quantum physicist named Vadim Zeland, and it completely changed the way that I approach and see reality. Everything just shifted, internally and externally. And it's pretty far out there, so buckle up. But here's the crazy part. After reading it, I realized something. Marvel has been showing us these exact concepts the whole time. The entire transurfing system, it's already perfectly illustrated within Marvel Universe. So today I'm breaking down the key principles from the book and how Marvel basically created a visual guide to one of the most powerful reality creation systems ever written. If you've watched Marvel, you already understand transurfing. You just didn't consciously make that connection yet. And by the end of this, you're going to realize that you already comprehend one of the most powerful manifestation creation systems that exists and has ever been written. So this book, it's dense. It's about how reality actually works. Not metaphorically, not allegorically, if that's the word, but literally. The core idea is simple, but mind-blowing. You are not creating reality. You're selecting which reality you experience from infinite pre-existing possibilities. Think of it like the metaverse. Infinite versions of everything already exist. You're just choosing the one that you experience. I started applying these principles and things genuinely shifted for me. My business flowed much better without me forcing it, and the relationship with my girlfriend massively improved. Synchronicities started appearing and popping up in my life constantly, and obstacles that seemed impossible to me just dissolved in front of my eyes. I stopped pushing and forcing and started flowing. And it was around the time I was reading this book that I rewatched Marvel. And I had this moment where I was like, whoa. Hold on a minute. This is literally transurfing. This whole thing is transurfing visually applied. A book, rather a movie of how to understand transurfing. And so here's what blew my mind. In transurfing, there are these core concepts and core principles that explain how reality works. And when I started looking at Marvel through this lens, I realized that the writers have literally shown every single principle and idea in depth visually. Think about what you know from Marvel. For example, the multiverse. Infinite universes existing at the same time, right? That's not just cool storytelling. That's literally describing how transurfing works. Or think about Doctor Strange. When he's looking at different futures, he's seeing different versions of how things could unfold. Again, that's the system. And the coolest part, Thanos fails because he's too attached to his outcome. He's desperate, obsessed, and forcing it. And meanwhile, the Avengers win because they adapt, they flow, they don't try and control everything. One fails and one succeeds. And transurfing explains exactly why this happens. It's like Zeland wrote the system and then the Marvel creators created a complete visual guide to it. So I thought, why not break down the actual concepts from the book and show you exactly how Marvel illustrates each one. Then you're not just learning a theory, you're seeing it in action with stories that you already know and love. And when you watch Marvel back, you're going to be watching them with a whole new meaning and a whole new depth. So let's get into it. Alright, first concept, the alternatives space. In transurfing, there's this foundational idea that an infinite field of information exists, containing every possible version of every single event. Past, present, and future, they all exist simultaneously. Like frames on a film reel, time isn't some force dragging you forward. Your consciousness is moving through those frames. So right now, infinite versions of your life exist, all of them real, all of them accessible. You're just not currently aware of it. Marvel literally visualizes this exact concept, the multiverse. Infinite realities, infinite versions of the same universe existing at the same time. That's exactly what the alternative space is. In Marvel, characters navigate between these realities consciously. In Transurfing, that's exactly what you're doing every single moment. Shifting between realities based upon your frequency, your thoughts, and your emotions. The difference? You're currently doing it unconsciously. You're shifting between lifelines without even realizing it. Transurfing teaches you how to do this intentionally, to guide your life, instead of being a stranded ship in the ocean with no rudder and no sail. Connected to that is a second concept, lifelines. A lifeline is literally one path through the alternative space, one specific version of how your reality and its own unique script and the events in that script unfold, the scenery and all of the circumstances around you. Here's the key. You're constantly shifting between lifelines. Every thought, every emotion, every choice that you have shifts you onto another lifeline, a different lifeline. Your vibration is like a tuning fork. It determines which version of reality that you're tuned into. So here's the practical part. If you're anxious about money, guess what? You're on a lifeline where money is scarce. You're vibrating at a frequency of lack. So you shift to a lifeline where those obstacles appear, where deals fall through and misery is in the air. If you're confident about money and your opportunities, you shift to a lifeline where opportunities exist, where money flows easily and life goes swimmingly. In Marvel, they show this constantly. When Doctor Strange looks at different futures, he's literally seeing different timelines, different outcomes, different scripts, all of them real, all existing simultaneously. He's not creating those futures, he's navigating between them, seeing which path to take, which one is the best for him. And that's exactly how transurfing works. You're not creating your reality, you're selecting which lifeline, which version of reality that you experience by tuning your frequency. Your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, they're all part of your tuning fork. Third concept, and this one is crucial, the mirror principle. Reality is a three-dimensional mirror. It reflects your inner state back to you. Your beliefs, your emotions, your energy, they are all reflected externally. But here's the crucial part that most people miss. There's a time delay. You change internally today, and the external reflection shows up days later, sometimes weeks, sometimes months, and sometimes instantly. That's why people give up on manifestation. They shift something internally, expect immediate results, don't see the change that they were expecting, and they go back to their old patterns. And typically, we quit right before the key moment and that reflection turns up. And this is the most important part. You cannot change the reflection directly. You can't force external reality to shift. That's like standing in front of the mirror and trying to get the reflection to change without you changing first. You have to change what stands before the mirror, your inner state, your beliefs, your vibration. And once that changes, the reflection automatically follows. It has no choice, just like the mirror. In Marvel, watch any hero's arc. Their internal transformation comes first, and then their external reality shifts. For a clear example of this, look at Tony's internal change from selfish to selfless. Externally, he becomes more powerful, more capable, more resourceful. And that's the mirror principle in action. Inner change comes first, and then outer reflection follows. And this is why so many people fail to manifest. They're trying to change the reflection directly. They're trying to force the external circumstances to shift, but the reflection is just information. You have to change the image standing before the mirror, yourself, your state, your beliefs, and then watch the reflection catch up. Now here's where most people mess up, and this is critical to understand. When you desperately want something, you create what's called excess potential. It's like overinflating a balloon. You put too much importance on the outcome, creating an imbalance, creating pressure. And the universe always seeks equilibrium. So balancing forces arise to neutralize that imbalance. And basically, the more desperate that you want something, the more resistance that you create. Let me give you some everyday examples. You're anxious about money? Well, more money problems appear in your life. Your car breaks down, unexpected expenses. Well, you're desperate to find love? More situations show up when you're alone. You keep missing connections. And if you're terrified of failure, get prepared for everything to go wrong. It's not punishment, it's physics. The universe is trying to balance out your imbalance. Watch what happens when someone has maximum importance on an outcome. Thanos is desperate to make his plan work, and that desperation is excess potential. It's what ultimately destroys him. He wanted it so badly that he couldn't see any alternatives. His desperation created the exact opposite of what he wanted. That's excess potential in action, and it's the main reason that manifestation fails. Not because you're broken, and not because you're not worthy, but because you're pushing too hard. You're creating resistance instead of flow. Next up, pendulums. Now this one's sneaky because most people don't realize that it's happening to them. A pendulum is an energetic structure created by collective human thought, similar to what some people call egregores. Religions, ideologies, brands, sports teams, political movements, social media trends, all of these are pendulums. And here's the thing, they need your energy to survive. They're designed to hook into your emotions, guilt, fear, anger, desire, the need for security. They keep you emotionally engaged so that you keep feeding them energy. Here's the manipulation. They make you think that their goals are your goals, and you pursue what the pendulum wants you to pursue, thinking it's what you authentically want. So most people spend their entire lives dictated by pendulums. They pursue society's version of success instead of their own. They're stressed about goals that aren't even theirs. And they're feeding someone else's agenda without thinking it's their dream. In Marvel, this is everywhere. Look at the soldiers. Look at Loki being manipulated by various forces. They're serving someone else's agenda, thinking that it's their own. They're feeding an energy structure that controls them, and they don't even question it. That's what a pendulum looks like in real life. The solution isn't to fight pendulums. Fighting feeds them. You just withdraw your attention. Stop reacting emotionally. Stop engaging. Let them fall through. And a real world example of this would be, you're stressed about what people think about you. that's a pendulum. If you withdraw your attention, you stop caring so much, you stop reacting to criticism, then the stress dissolves. The pendulum has no power over you anymore. Last one, and this is the secret: coordination. This is the opposite of excess potential. It's the art of letting go while simultaneously guiding. It means stop controlling how things happen. Stop obsessing over the script. Stop forcing the outcome. Instead, interpret and categorize every single event as favorable to your goal. When something goes wrong, don't panic. Don't blame yourself. Just ask, what's the advantage to this? How does this serve my goal? Find the benefit. And this shifts you to a lifeline where that setback becomes part of your path. You're guiding with intention while flowing with alternatives. You're not forcing, you're surfing. The best heroes aren't the ones forcing the outcomes or trying to control every single detail. They're adapting. They're flowing with the situation. They're using what shows up. That's coordination. And when things change, they don't panic, they coordinate. They flow, and that's exactly what actually wins the battle. This is the secret that Thanos didn't have. The Avengers had it, and that's why they won. Not through force, not through desperation, through coordination, through flow. So here's what I realized. Marvel isn't just entertainment. It's a visual guide to how reality actually works for you. Every character that's struggling, they're usually applying these principles wrong, forcing, desperate, and attached to outcomes. And every character who wins, they're coordinating, they're flowing, they're adapting. They're not fighting reality, they're surfing it. And here's the thing that changes everything. You can use this exact system in your actual life. Not just watching movies. You can apply these principles to manifest anything you want. Better business, better relationships, better opportunities, or freedom from stress. This book goes in deep into specific detail, practical techniques that you can use immediately. And if anything that I've said resonates, grab Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zeland. It's a journey, it's a trip, but I promise that it's worth it if it resonates with you at all. Most importantly, here's what you need to know. You are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not stuck. You're just on the wrong lifeline. And now you know how to shift it and jump on the right lifeline. The question is, which lifeline are you going to choose today? Thanks again for taking the time and spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I'd love to hear your feedback, and is this a technique that you've ever tried, or just let me know. Much love, everybody. Have a fantastic day or evening wherever you might be, and speak to you again soon. Ciao guys, bye bye.